How to do two-digit multiplication super fast. Speed math has been popular by using some tricks to calculate fast. If you know the tricks, you don't need a pen to calculate, you only need your working memory. Here we will introduce how to multiply two-digit by two-digit numbers super fast. Firstly, you need to know an important concept, pair number. A pair number is 10 minus the number. You also need to memorize the multiplication chart. Here are some quick tips on how to best memorize it. Another important concept is the distributive property formula for multiplication. Here is how to use that formula for multiplication. When a number is a multiple of 10, it's much easier to calculate, even for multiplying two-digit by two-digit numbers. By using the distributive property formula, it's not hard to multiply one-digit by two-digit numbers. You may need some practice. If one of the two-digit numbers is a multiple of 10, it's basically the same as multiplying one digit by two-digit numbers. When the one digit for a number is 1, you can use the distributive property formula for faster calculation. When the one digit for a number is 9, you can use the distributive property formula for faster calculation. With some practice, this should be an easy task. When you multiply any number by 48, 52, or 98, you can also use distributive property formula for fast calculation. Those numbers can make calculations easier. When you multiply any even number by 25, there is an easier way to calculate. With some practice, this should be an easy task. When you multiply any odd number by 25, there are some adjustments. You need to find the closest even number, and add 25 to the result. Similarly, when you multiply any even number by 12, 14, 16, or 18, you can change to easier calculation. With more practice, this should be an easy task. When any number multiplied by 11, you put the tens digit in the hundreds position and ones digit in the ones position, then you add the two digits and put the sum in the tens position. If the sum is greater than 10, you need to do regrouping. When any number is multiplied by a multiple of 11, you put the multiplication of tens digit in the hundreds position and the multiplication of ones digit in the ones position, then you add the two digits, times the multiple, and put in the tens position. If the sum is greater than 10, you need to do regrouping. Since the last digit doesn't change, you can memorize and add up the first three digits at first. It's very helpful for all similar calculation. Now, let's move to multiplying two teen numbers. If the sum of one digit is less than 10, you put 1 in the hundreds position, the multiplication of ones digits in the ones position, and the sum of the last digit in the tens position. If the sum of one digit equals 10, or to say they are pair numbers, you just multiply the last two digits, and add 2 to the hundreds position. For any numbers with pair numbers in the ones positions and with the same tens digit, here is how you can calculate the result in a second. Why can you calculate so fast? Here is the reasoning behind it. Assume A is the tens digit, x and y are the ones digit. Since x plus y equals 10, this expression can be reorganized to a better way for easier calculation. Let's return to multiplying two teen numbers. If the sum of one's digit is greater than 10, you multiply the last two digits, and add 2 to the hundreds position. Then, you need to add the sum of one's digits minus 10 to the tens position. Here is the reasoning behind it. Assume B is the sum of one's digits minus 10. This expression can be reorganized to a better way for easier calculation. Even though A can be any number, but A equals 1 is the easiest one for calculation. What about any two numbers with pair numbers in the tens positions and with the same ones digit? You multiply the tens digits and put the result into the hundreds position. Then you add ones digit to the hundreds position. Next multiply the ones digits and put the result into the ones position. Here is the reasoning behind it. Assume A and B are the tens digit, x is the ones digit. Since A plus B equals 10, this expression can be reorganized to a better way for easier calculation. Any number pairs with both ones digit equals 5. The calculation can be much easier. When the sum of tens digit is an even number, you multiply the tens digits and put the result into the hundreds position. Then you add the average of the tens digits to the hundreds position, and put 25 into the ones position. When the sum of tens digits is an odd number, you multiply the tens digits and put the result into the hundreds position. Then you add the average of the tens digits to the hundreds position, and put 75 into the ones position. Here is the reasoning behind it. It's just a simple conversion. But the expression can be simplified for easier calculation. Now, all the easier calculation has been explained. Let's move to the harder ones. For both numbers, if the ones digits are the same, you put the multiplication of tens digit in the hundreds position and the multiplication of ones digits in the ones position. Then you add the tens digits, times the ones digit, and put in the tens position. Here is the reasoning behind it. Sometimes, it may not be easy to calculate. But if you do some practice, you can do it faster. How about if the tens digits are the same number? You can see that there is not much difference. You need to add the ones digits, times the tens digit, and put in the tens position. Here is the reasoning behind it. Sometimes, it may not be easy to calculate. But with more practice, you can do it faster. How about a number multiplies by itself? You can use both of the above mentioned methods. Or you can use this new way to calculate. Here is the reasoning behind it. Sometimes, this method may be faster for calculation than the other two methods. When a number times its double, it's the same as calculating the square number. You only need to multiply the result by 2, or you can add the result by itself. Knowing the factors of a number can be helpful for easier calculation. For the following list of numbers, since they can be broken down into small numbers, you can do two easier calculations. It can be hard if the result of the first multiplication is a 3-digit number. But sometimes, it may not be as hard, like 102. It's very easy to calculate 102 multiplying by any one-digit number. If a number ends with 3 or 7, you can break down that number to a multiples of 10 and a plus or minus 3. Then you can use the distributive property formula for the calculation. Generally speaking, plus or minus 1 is the easiest, plus or minus 2 is manageable, but plus or minus 3 is only for some small or special numbers. Here are those numbers. Here is another trick for a number multiplies by 15. You times the other number with 10, and add the half of the result. Sometimes, you can also use the difference of squares formula. It can make the calculation much easier. Since 4 times 25 equals 100, it can be much easier to calculate 75 times the multiples of 4. Since 3 times 34 equals 102, it will be easier to calculate 34 times the multiples of 3. Since 3 times 37 equals 111, it will be easier to calculate 37 times the multiples of 3. Now you know there are lots of ways that can help you calculate two-digit multiplication fast. There are still 481 combinations left unsolved in the whole 10,000 combinations. There could be some unique methods for each combination. You may try to do this by yourself. Here are some examples. On the internet, there is a method that can calculate a two-digit multiplication faster. It does require some working memory and may not be significantly faster from the traditional way. With more practice, you can do any two-digit multiplication much faster.